Now I'd like to request Shri Milan Devra to welcome Honorable Vice President Shri Jagdeep Dhankarji and Dr. Srimati Sudesh Dhankarji with a planter.
Nicole, I think we have to go up. Yeah.
A very warm welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the inaugural Murli Devra Memorial Dialogues, an event dedicated to celebrating the life and legacy of late Shri Murli Devra, a statesman who devoted his life to bridging political and social divides and fostering meaningful dialogues. Friends, the theme of this year's Murli Devra Memorial Dialogues is Leadership and Governance. With that, now I'd like to request Shri Milan Devra to join us and address all of us.
Honorable Vice President of India, Shri Jagdeep Dhankarji, Shri senior bureaucrats from central and state departments, consul generals and distinguished guests. It's truly my pleasure to welcome each and every one of you here today. At the outset, please accept my sincerest apologies if any of you haven't received the seat that you so truly deserve, and please know that I'm extremely grateful for your patience and for your understanding. Sir, a former Speaker of the US had once said of the US House of Representatives that if you're going to be Speaker, you have to have a very thick skin and a very good sense of humor. Fortunately, our chief guest, the immensely popular Vice President of India, Shri Jagdeep Dhankarji, has never needed a thick skin. His sharp intellect, wit, fairness, respect for democratic processes make him one of the most admired speakers of our time. He conducts the Rajya Sabha proceedings with the discipline of a headmaster, but with the heart of a democrat who truly wants Parliament to function very smoothly. While the Rajya Sabha is known as India's house to deliver the first Murli Devra Memorial Dialogues lecture right here in Mumbai, it's truly an honor, sir. Governor C.P. Radhakrishnan ji has always been a friend of Maharashtra. He's always advocated for Maharashtra's growth. So it's a true honor to welcome you here today. Thank you so much for being here. Eknath ji is somebody who I personally admire, not just for his political journey, for what he has achieved, but more importantly, like my late father, how he remains accessible and connected to the people. Eknath ji, आज तुम्ही आमच्यासाठी टाइम काढला, याबद्दल आपले खूप खूप मी आभारी आहे. I also want to thank Kotak Mahindra Bank for lending their full support to this initiative, to this platform. Mr. Uday Kotak, Mr. Ashok Vaswani, who is the CEO of Kotak Mahindra Bank, Mr. Raghu Singh, Mr. Gaurang Jain, Mr. Siddharth Nagpal, your support truly means a lot. And Uday bhai, as you know, my late father had a very special fondness, very special relationship with you, and I have no doubt in my mind that he would be very, very proud of this association today. Many of you knew Murli bhai, as he was fondly called. He came to Mumbai with nothing and he understood struggle firsthand. That's why throughout his public life career, whether as a municipal councillor, mayor of Mumbai, an MLC, as Mumbai's longest serving Lok Sabha MP and ultimately as a union minister, he never lost his personal touch. Murli Bhai believed that no matter how contentious, how heated and how intense a debate, dialogue must never break down. He built friendships across party lines and he never hesitated to cut across the aisle to deliver what was in India's interest. Whether it was to pass the insurance bill, which in 24 years has given crores of Indians access to affordable, Mr. Sunil Mehta is here, affordable insurance, life insurance, health insurance, securing crucial infrastructure for Mumbai, attracting investments to Maharashtra, or strengthening India's global standing. Few may know that his PIL, his public interest litigation, led to the Supreme Court of India's nationwide ban on smoking cigarettes in public places. But beyond politics, my father truly loved people and he truly loved helping people. He believed in seva or selfless service over satta or power. And I know that if he were here today, first thing he would say is stop talking about me. But that's truly the spirit in which we have created and hope to institutionalize the Murli Devra Memorial Dialogues in partnership with Kotak Mahindra Bank. At a time when global politics is increasingly divided, increasingly fragmented, we felt Mumbai, the only city in India where people unite despite all our differences, was the right place to develop a platform like this. In the years ahead, we aspire to bring global leaders cutting across genres right here in Mumbai to engage in meaningful conversations on issues that matter, ensuring dialogue triumphs over discord and collaboration over conflict. Once again, I am extremely grateful to our Honorable Chief Guest, our very popular Vice President of India, Shri Jagdeep Dhankar ji, Srimati Dr. Sudesh Dhankar ji, and our guest of honor, Shri C.P. Radhakrishnan ji, for their valuable time. My heartfelt thanks to Eknath Shinde ji for sending me to the Rajya Sabha, where I have the opportunity to learn and the privilege to learn from our distinguished Vice President and Chairman. And sir, you will agree, hopefully in some small way, enrich one of the two central houses of the world's largest democracy. I am extremely grateful also. A special thank you to Srimati Amrita Fadnavis ji for graciously joining us today on behalf of Maharashtra's Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis ji. Amrita ji, I am very grateful to you. Thank you so much. I also want to thank my entire team for helping arrange this program. I want to tell them that your hard work and dedication means a lot to me. Finally, to each and every one of you, there's so many familiar faces in the audience, so many people who I have grown up seeing you interact with my late father, who knew him very, very intimately. I'm extremely grateful to each and every one of you for being here today from different parts of the country, for coming all the way. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you at the next Murli Devra Memorial Dialogues. Jai Hind, Jai Maharashtra.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite Shri Eknath Shinde ji, Honorable Deputy Chief Minister of Maharashtra, to join us and say a few words.
थोड़ा मराठी में बोलता हूँ। या कार्यक्रमाला उपस्थित माननीय महामहिम उपराष्ट्रपती जगदीप धनखड जी आणि डॉक्टर सुदेश आदरणीय धनखड जी, आमचे राज्यपाल C.P. राधाकृष्णन जी, राघवेंद्र सिंग कोटक महिंद्राचे आणि कार्यक्रमाचे आयोजक खासदार मिलिंद देवरा आणि समोर त्यांच्या मातोश्री आहेत फणसळकर, तिकडे एक फणसळकर आहेत. आणि सर्वच मान्यवर सभागृहात आहेत, बहिणी आहेत, अशोकजी आहेत, वासनजी आहेत. मुरली देवरा मेमोरियल डायलॉग संकल्पना मिलिंद देवरा तुमची आहे ना, आणि खऱ्या अर्थाने एक चांगली संकल्पना आपण मांडली. यातला डायलॉग म्हणजे संवाद. डायलॉग से बिना कुछ होता ही नहीं. डायलॉग है, संवाद है, तो सब कुछ होता है. आणि म्हणून हा शब्द मला महत्वाचा वाटतो. मुरलीभाईंनी ज्या प्रकारे राजकारण केलं त्याला शब्द 100% न्याय देणारा है. मुरलीभाई डायलॉग और संवाद करते करते उन्होंने अपनी राजनीति करी आणि राज्याच्या उज्ज्वल भविष्यावर देखील आज इथे चर्चा होते. राजकारणात काहीतरी सकारात्मक घडावं यासाठी महत्वाचं पाऊल या ठिकाणी टाकताय. त्यामुळे मी मिलिंद देवरा यांचं मनापासून अभिनंदन करतो. बहुत बहुत आपको धन्यवाद. लीडरशिप आणि गव्हर्नन्स हे दोन्ही शब्द एकत्र उच्चारले आपल्या समोर एकच महाप्रचंड व्यक्तिमत्व उभं राहतं. ते म्हणजे महाराष्ट्राचं आराध्य दैवत छत्रपती शिवाजी महाराज. नेता तो असतो जो समाजाला उज्ज्वल भविष्याकडे नेतो. काळाची पावलं ओळखून केलेला कारभार म्हणजे गव्हर्नन्स. स्वराज्याची पायाभरणी करताना सुराज्य निर्माण करणारा या देशातला एकमेव नेता आणि राजा म्हणजे छत्रपती शिवाजी महाराज. आणि म्हणून आपण छत्रपती शिवाजी महाराजांच्या आदर्शावर, उन्हीं के आदर्श पे उपराष्ट्रपति महोदय जी, हमारी सरकार भी हम चला रहे. मैं जब मुख्यमंत्री था, देवेंद्र जी, अजीत दादा, हमारी टीम काम कर रही थी. आज देवेंद्र जी मुख्यमंत्री है, हम टीम बनकर काम कर रहे हैं. और एक ही है कि छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज जी का आदर्श जो है, उनको उनके आदर्शों पे चलने का काम हम कर रहे हैं. जैसे आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी भी देश का कारोबार भी छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज जी के आदर्शों पे करते हैं. इसका भी हमें गर्व भी है, फक्र भी है, अभिमान भी है. आणि म्हणून शिवरायांना अभिप्रेत असलेलं सुराज्य निर्माण करण्याचा प्रयत्न आम्ही करतोय. आणि म्हणून यासाठी आम्हाला राज्यकर्त्यांना बळ मिळावं अशीच या ठिकाणी प्रार्थना आहे आणि अपेक्षा आहे. आज विज्ञान और तंत्रज्ञान तेजी से बदल रहा है. टेक्नोलॉजी के वजह से नई नई तकनीकें सामने आ रहे हैं. उसका सीधा असर हमारी जीवन शैली पर पड़ रहा है. नागरिकों की भलाई को प्राथमिकता देना ये चैलेंजिंग होते जा रहा है. वर्तमान समय में लीडरशिप और गवर्नेंस का बहुत बड़ा महत्व है. उसी का इम्पोर्टेंस है. प्रशासन को सुचारू रूप से चलाते वक्त एक अच्छे नेता को भी संवेदनशील होना जरूरी है, सेंसिटिव होना जरूरी है. लीडरशिप और गवर्नेंस ऐसे दो स्तंभ है जिसपे समाज की प्रगति निर्भर है. एक सच्चा नेता सिर्फ शासन नहीं करता, वह इंस्पायर करता है, इनोवेशन करता है और चेंज भी लाता है. सुशासन का मतलब ट्रांसपेरेंसी है और रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी और इंक्लूसिवनेस है. यही है. और एक लीडर के पास 5 गुण आवश्यक होते हैं. कर्तव्य निष्ठा, पब्लिक रिलेशन यानी जनसंपर्क, और रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, विजन एंड अवेयरनेस. और उसी के साथ क्रेडिबिलिटी भी बहुत जरूरी है. गवर्नेंस होता है किसके लिए? आम आदमी के लिए होता है. और हम कहते हैं ये हमारी सरकार, मराठी में हम कहते हैं सर्वसामान्यांचं सरकार. सामान्य नागरिक की सरकार, आम आदमी की सरकार। और इसीलिए ये माननीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने सिद्ध कर दिया है कि लीडरशिप और गवर्नेंस किसे कहते हैं। नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने देश में गवर्नेंस के युग की शुरुआत की है। उन्होंने प्रशासन को आधुनिक चेहरा प्रदान किया है, भारत को अंतर्राष्ट्रीय पहचान दिलाई है। हम पहले देखते थे भारत के प्रधानमंत्री जब विदेश जाते थे, सब कई लोगों ने अच्छा काम किया, कई लोगों ने हमारे भारत देश को आगे बढ़ाया। आज के जमाने में हम देखें तो भारत के प्रधानमंत्री जब दुनिया में जाते हैं, हर किसी देश में जाते हैं, तो हमारे देश का सिक्का वहां जमा के आते हैं। हमारे देश का गौरव पूरी दुनिया में आज आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी बढ़ा रहे हैं। ये हमारे लिए बहुत फख्र की बात है। ये भी कहूंगा मैं कि हमारे देश की अर्थव्यवस्था 11वें नंबर पे थी, आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में आज 5वें नंबर पे आई है। अभी हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी का सपना है हम 3रे नंबर पे लाना चाहिए, और वो भी जरूर होगा। और मैं ये भी कहूंगा मिलिंद जी, उसमें हमारे महाराष्ट्र का बहुत बड़ा योगदान भी होगा, कंट्रीब्यूशन महाराष्ट्र का भी होगा। इसलिए मैं हमेशा कहता हूं कि प्रधानमंत्री जी के काम पर हमें गर्व महसूस होता है, उनके नेतृत्व पर भी हमें गर्व महसूस होता है। और मैं भी एक कार्यकर्ता के रूप में बड़ा हूं, कार्यकर्ता बनकर आगे आया हूं, और एक कार्यकर्ता से लेके इस राज्य का मुख्यमंत्री भी बन गया मैं। कई मंत्री पद भी मुझे मिले, लेकिन मुख्यमंत्री पद पर पहुंचने के बाद एक ही विचार हमारे सामने था, हमारी टीम हम बना के हम काम कर रहे थे। इस राज्य को आगे बढ़ाएंगे, इस राज्य की प्रगति करेंगे, इस राज्य के हर वर्ग को हम मेन स्ट्रीम में लाएंगे। वो आम आदमी हो, व्यापारी हो, बिजनेस कम्युनिटी हो, इंडस्ट्री हो। आज कितना हम देखते हैं राज्यपाल महोदय जी भी हमारे साथ में हमेशा जुड़े रहते हैं, उनका भी ब्लेसिंग हमारे साथ है। धनखड़ जी भी महाराष्ट्र का हमेशा कभी कार्यक्रम होगा तो हमारे उपराष्ट्रपति ना नहीं कहते, इसलिए मैं उनका भी बहुत बहुत स्वागत करता हूँ, उनको भी धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ। क्योंकि आज हमारा राज्य जो है ये महाराष्ट्र एक इंडस्ट्री फ्रेंडली स्टेट हुआ है, लोग आना चाहते हैं हमारे यहाँ। वेयर ह्यूज पोटेंशियल, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, स्किल, मैन पावर सब कुछ है हमारे यहाँ पर। आज लोग महाराष्ट्र को पसंद कर रहे हैं। पिछले कई सालों में अगर जाएंगे हम तो परिस्थिति उस पर मैं कुछ आज बोलना नहीं चाहता हूँ, लेकिन जब से आम आदमी की सरकार, सर्व सामान्य लोगों की सरकार जब से आई है, तब से इस राज्य की प्रगति हो रही है। और $1 ट्रिलियन का हमारा भी गोल है। निश्चित रूप से हम उपराष्ट्रपति जी आपकी जो अपेक्षा है उससे कई आगे जाकर हम, हमारे देश के प्रधानमंत्री जी का गोल है, उसमें हमारा कंट्रीब्यूशन जरूर बढ़ाएंगे। क्योंकि महाराष्ट्र में जिस गति से काम हो रहा है और तेजी से इसके आगे हम काम करेंगे, ये हमारी पूरी टीम है। और इसलिए मैं इतना ही कहूंगा, आम लोगों के बीच में रहकर उनकी समस्याओं को सुलझाने के लिए दिन रात प्रयास करना, यही हमारा काम है। और मुरली भाई भी सिर्फ एक राजनेता नहीं थे, वे लोगों के सच्चे सेवक थे। मुंबई के विकास के लिए उनका डेडिकेशन और डिवोशन हमने देखा है, और हमेशा पार्टी लाइन से हटकर उन्होंने संबंध रखे। वे अजात शत्रु थे। मुरली भाई कांग्रेस में थे, उस समय भी, उस समय की कांग्रेस अलग थी। मैं कुछ बोलना नहीं, क्योंकि ये तो मिलिंद हमारे साथ नहीं आता ना। अरे बाबा, वो अपने ही लोग हैं सर, वो पराये थोड़ी है। मैं देखा अमित भाई वगैरह सभी देखे मैंने अभी। अशोक चौहान सामने बैठे, लेकिन वो अभी हमारे साथ में है। तो जो नहीं है वो भी आएंगे हमारे साथ, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। क्योंकि हमारा काम ही ऐसा है, बियॉन्ड द पॉलिटिक्स, राजनीति से परे होकर हम काम करते हैं। देवेंद्र जी देखो, मैं देखो, हम देखो, हमारे दूसरे साथी अजीत दादा, हम कोई पार्टी पॉलिटिक्स तो सिर्फ चुनाव में होता है, उसके बाद नहीं होता है। डेवलपमेंट डेवलपमेंट डेवलपमेंट, यही हमारा एजेंडा है, और इसलिए सब लोग जुड़ेंगे, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। और मिलिंद देवरा, बहुत से लोग मुझे मिलिंद कहते हैं कि आपने सही काम किया है, और आपको भी कहते होंगे, आप सही आदमी के पास गए हो। और अभी हमारे आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री देश की सेवा की यात्रा पे निकले हैं, और देश के विकास की यात्रा में आप भी शामिल हो गए। ये भी छोटी बात थोड़ी है, बड़ी बात है। और इसलिए मैं मिलिंद को भी धन्यवाद दूंगा। मुरली भाई राजकारण कम करते थे, लेकिन लोगों को मदद ज्यादा करते थे, सेवाभावी वृत्ति उनकी थी, और इसलिए प्रसिद्धि से दूर रहकर काम करना। अभी थोड़ा माहौल चेंज है, पहले का समय अलग था, अभी का समय अलग है। अभी तो मीडिया को बुलाना नहीं पड़ता है, वो मीडिया पहुंच जाती है। बाकी कुछ बोलना नहीं चाहता हूं मैं। कुछ सुबह वाली बात होती है, कुछ दोपहर वाली होती है, कुछ दिन भर वाली होती है, लेकिन हम लोग, हमारा काम है डेवलपमेंट। फिर भी मैं कहूंगा, तो मुंबई कारपोरेशन के वो नगर सेवक भी थे, मैं भी नगर सेवक था, सामने नगर सेवक से मैं मुख्यमंत्री बना, वो केंद्रीय मंत्री बने, महापौर भी बने। वो महापौर बनने के टाइम मुझे याद है, हमारे हिंदू हृदय सम्राट बाला साहब ठाकरे जी ने उनको ब्लेसिंग दी थी, आशीर्वाद दिया था, क्योंकि वो कहते थे मुरली भाई जो है हमारे मुंबई के दामाद है। तो इसलिए बाला साहब ठाकरे जी जो दिल से करते थे, जो भी है उनका दिल से होता था, और पेट में कुछ, ओट में कुछ, ऐसा नहीं। बहुत ही खुली किताब थी, और इसलिए हम उनके विचार को आगे बढ़ा रहे हैं, राज्य में उनके विचार आगे ले जा रहे हैं। इसलिए जो 2.5 साल में हमने काम किया, हमारी सरकार ने काम किया, इस जो काम किया, इतना काम किया, इतने निर्णय लिए, इतने डेवलपमेंटल प्रोजेक्ट को आगे बढ़ाया, इतनी वेलफेयर स्कीम्स की। तो आपने कहा, अभी उपराष्ट्रपति जी ने मुझे आते आते कहा कि पूरे देश को आनंद मिले, ऐसा काम आपने किया है, ये हमारे लिए बहुत बड़ी बात है। ये सर्टिफिकेट आपका है, क्योंकि लैंडस्लाइड मैंडेट ऐसे ही नहीं मिलता, काम की वजह से मिलता है, डेडिकेशन, डिवोशन की वजह से मिलता है। और इसलिए मैं इतना ही कहूँगा कि हेमाताई, आपल्याला पण मी, म्हणजे आपल्या मिलिंदच्या आई फणसळकर आणि तसं आपलं नातं जे आहे, आता तर अगदी घट्ट झाले, पण अगोदरही होतं। बाळासाहेब मुरलीभाईंना खूप मानायचे, आणि म्हणून 77ला ते महापौर झाले, आणि शिवसेना आणि मुरलीभाई यांच्यातले हे प्रेम शेवटपर्यंत कायम होतं। आणि मुरलीभाईंचं आणि बाळासाहेबांचं होतं, त्याचंच रीव ओढली मिलिंदने पुढे, आणि मग ते मिलिंद देखील शिवसेनेबरोबर आला। त्यामुळे आता चांगलं काम करतोय मिलिंद। थोडं त्याला नवीन वाटत असेल, पण यहाँ पर मैं एक कोट कहूंगा, रोनाल्ड रेगन का मशहूर कोट मुझे यहाँ कहना है, द ग्रेटेस्ट लीडर इज नॉट नेसेसरली द वन हु डज द ग्रेटेस्ट थिंग्स, ही इज द वन दैट गेट्स द पीपल टू डू द ग्रेटेस्ट थिंग्स। हमें इसी राह पर चलना, सबको साथ लेके चलना। कोई अकेला सब कुछ नहीं कर सकता है, लेकिन जब साथ में सब साथी होते हैं तो बहुत कुछ कर सकते हैं। मेरी बात कहूंगा मैं तो अकेला ही चला था जानिबे मंजिल, लोग आते गए, कारवा बनते गया, लोग समझ साथ में आ गए। वैसे आपके पिताजी का था, और इसलिए मैं इतना ही कहूंगा, मजबूत भारत के निर्माण में महाराष्ट्र सरकार की भूमिका अहम रहेगी। एक तरफ व्यापार को अनुकूल वातावरण बनाते हुए दूसरी तरफ सामाजिक कल्याण योजनाओं को भी हमने बढ़ावा दिया है। हमारी सरकार ने प्रशासन, ट्रांसपेरेंसी और रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी सुनिश्चित करने की दिशा में महत्वपूर्ण कदम उठाए हैं, जिसमें ई गवर्नेंस सुधार, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर विकास, इंडस्ट्रियल इन्वेस्टमेंट और सामाजिक कल्याण कार्यक्रम को बढ़ावा देना इसमें शामिल है। साथ ही कानून व्यवस्था को मजबूत करना, पर्यावरण संरक्षण पर हमने जोर दिया है। ईमानदारी, सेवा और प्रगतिशील शासन, इन मूल्य पर हम गवर्नेंस करना चाहते हैं। गुड गवर्नेंस की इस यात्रा में आप सभी का योगदान बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है, और हम सभी ऐसे नेता, कार्यकर्ता बनने का प्रयास करें जो प्रेरणा दे, ऐसे शासन की स्थापना करे जो सशक्त बनाए, देश को सशक्त बनाए, तथा ऐसे नागरिक बने जो हमारे राष्ट्र की महानता में योगदान दे। मैं एक बार फिर इस महत्वपूर्ण अवसर पर आयोजक मिलिंद को धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ। आदरणीय उपराष्ट्रपति धनखड़ जी को धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ। आपका प्रेम ऐसे ही बरकरार रखिए, और आपके साथ आपका भी स्वागत मैं करता हूँ। आपको भी धन्यवाद देता हूँ। राज्यपाल महोदय जी तो हमारे पीछे खड़े ही है, तो उनका भी मैं स्वागत करता हूँ। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। जय हिंद, जय महाराष्ट्र।
With that, now ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite Shri Jagdeep Dhankar ji, Honorable Vice President of India, to enlighten us with his thoughts.
Good evening, all of you. Honorable Governor Maharashtra, Shri C.P. Radhakrishnan ji, Honorable Shri Eknath Shinde ji, ladies and gentlemen, we had such a feast, both of governance and leadership. Shinde ji, you have stolen the thunder. I am wondering struck whether I can add anything. I may only repackage it. I recall every moment I spent with Sindhyaji, but more when me and my wife went to his residence and had the good fortune to perform puja. His address is remarkably relevant, full of depth, assessment of contemporary scenario and challenges. He speaks of his final experience he has gained from worker to leader. And a leader is always a leader. It doesn't matter in cricketing you play at which number. I am absolutely elated and unreached that a leader has such sacrificial attitude. My congratulations to you. We have amongst us Srimati Hema Devaraji. I was greatly touched because she is privy to the hand-holding which I received as a young parliamentarian from Shri Murli Devra ji. I was elected to Parliament in 1989 and that was a big change. Congress had lost power and I was a union minister. He was a congressman. He took me to then Bombay, now Mumbai, to Kolkata, handheld me and introduced me to people who matter in industry and in Marwadi community. When she revealed this briefly, I had vivid recollection of those days. A man of sterling qualities, Murli Devra ji. Ma'am, your presence matters to us. And I am sure you will have the good occasion to see your son perform in Rajya Sabha. Eknath Shinde ji has sent a jewel to Rajya Sabha. He marks his addresses with due diligence, thorough study, calm and composed. I am sure you will be in Chairman's gallery to applaud him someday. We have amongst us distinguished members of Parliament. Though the audience is absolutely very eminent, and each one of you matters to me hugely. But I don't believe in taking risks. And therefore I must recognize presence of members of Parliament. One on the dais, Shri Milind Devara ji, a stalwart of politics in the state and the nation, Shri Ashok Chauhan ji, Shri G.K. Vasan ji, whose father had handheld me in a similar manner as Murli Devara ji. Young, energetic, youthful, but in third term, Shrikant Shinde ji. I hope I don't miss any parliamentarian, otherwise I may suffer at their hands. Sri Raghavendra Singh, President Kotak Mahindra Bank. He is energy capsuled, has great administrative capacities. But what I gather from him, having known him for the third generation, is full of positivity. I must recognize presence of some who are present here. Shri Ashok Hinduja ji is here. We have Shri Uday Kotak ji. I'll come to Amrata ji a little later because I'll have to. She is much beyond the spouse of the Chief Minister for me. But His Holiness Saidna Sahab ji, Shri Goran Das, Shri Gaur Gopal Das, they both are from ISKCON. People in industry, Shri Arnav Adani, Shri Neeraj Bajaj, Dr. Panda, Mr. Jalas Dani, and let me tell you, everyone who is present here, I am greatly indebted. But never miss a journalist if he is your friend. You may suffer at his hands forever. I am referring to none other than Sanjay Pugalia, whom I know him for more than 4 decades. We had such a wonderful cricket match and India is in finals. So why not remember Surya Kumar Yadav? He is known as Mr. 360 degrees. Now, Amrita ji. Amrita ji, you have created a problem for me. Because of a condition I set for Devendra Fadnavis, that I will receive him at Uprashtrapati Niwas only if he is accompanied by Amrita ji. Every time he makes an excuse, please ensure. I would love to receive both of you at Uprashtrapati Niwas, where I have had the great occasion to receive Shinde ji. After having listened to Eknath Shinde ji, the essence of the lecture is already before you. Because he is not academic. He has spoken out of experience, exposure, and more importantly, delivered. Delivery matters. The humility and modesty reflected by him is quintessence of leadership quality. Whatever be your position in the team must win. The object must be accomplished. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I come to the inaugural lecture. It is an absolute honor and privilege to deliver the Murli Devda Memorial Lecture Dialogue, dedicated to one of the finest public figures in politics, who nurtured all his life friendships. He bridged the differences and was loved by all. In his life, he missed one thing. He had no adversaries. That was his stature. Murli Bhai, as fondly reminisced by his peers, exemplified public spirit and dedication to worthy societal causes. He was a statesman in the mold of a politician, a rare blend of foresight and pragmatism. From being the youngest mayor of Bombay, now Mumbai, to serving 7 terms in parliament, he showed deep commitment to democratic values and public service. His belief in dialogue, debate, discussion, deliberation, consensual approach, cooperative approach, coordination are being missed now. Murli Devda ji will always be remembered for his proactive efforts to save the country from the hazards of smoking. He approached the highest court of the land, sought affirmative intervention to secure a ban on smoking at public places. Life of Murli Devda ji was a testament to the idea of leadership, that this idea is not a pedestal but a pilgrimage, a journey of service to the last, the least and the lonely, very effectively projected before all of you by Shri Eknath Shinde ji. I commend, ladies and gentlemen, Milind Devda, a senior parliamentarian, former Union Minister, and his friends for organizing this annual feature as a befitting tribute to Murli ji. The theme Leadership and governance is indeed thought-provoking, as also of huge contemporaneous relevance. Bharat, home to 1/6 of humanity, is the oldest, largest and most vibrant and functional democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, Bharat is the only country in the world that has structured democracy, structured by constitution at the village level up to the national level. Ladies and gentlemen, first I seek to focus on the source of governance in democracy. Our constitution's preamble indicates we the people as the foundational source and premise of governance. Preamble of the constitution also reveals purpose of governance being justice, equality, fraternity for all. We must appreciate the contours of we the people, the ultimate repository of sovereignty, a sovereignty which we cannot afford either to dilute or to be taken away. We the people through electoral platforms constitute parliament, legislatures, panchayats, municipalities, elect the president and the vice president. The sanctity of this repository of sovereignty is essential for democratic governance. Imagine what will befall us if we are deprived of our sovereignty. The integrity of we the people in the present times is being stressed and challenged. And the challenge is surfacing in multiple ways. Leadership faces a daunting task to preserve and sustain this. Let me advert to some worrying trends. There are many, I am referring only to some. The nation houses millions of illegal migrants, causing a demographic upheaval. Millions of illegal migrants are in this country, making a huge demand on our health services, education services. They are depriving our people of employment opportunities. Such elements have alarmingly secured electoral relevance in some areas, and their securing electoral relevance is sapping the essence of our democracy. Emerging dangers can be evaluated through historical reference, where nations were swept of their ethnic identity by similar demographic invasions. As a matter of fact, there are countries where demographic invasion resulted in complete eclipse of ethnicity, where ethnicity was in complete majority. Ladies and gentlemen, this malaise, far more severe than COVID, is aggravatingly intersected with conversions through allurements, with vulnerable sections trying to be trapped, the marginalized, the tribal, the weaker become easy prey to these temptations and allurements. Faith is your own. Faith is dictated by conscience. Indian Constitution gives freedom of faith. But if this faith is held hostage by temptations, allurements, by making prey of those who are in need, it, ladies and gentlemen, according to me, defacing freedom of faith. The concerning objective behind these producer designs is to detrimentally vary and ultimately eclipse we the people identity and secure for themselves majoritarianism position. I am sure no one will disagree. This danger has to be thwarted. This is too serious an onslaught to be either countenanced or overlooked. Just reflect for a moment the change that has taken place in our demography in last 2 decades. Look at some of the areas where impregnable fortress has emerged. I am sure this is a challenge that needs urgent attention. Preservation of pristine integrity of we the people is fundamental to preserving our national identity and culture. Our very existence is at stake if this is not addressed in the right perspective. This menace has potential to emerge as existential challenge and concern to the oldest civilization. Foundations of our culture will be uprooted. National mindset must converge to secure sanctity of we the people. We must work hard to persuade our people to be in the right mindset, to appreciate the challenge, inflame in them a desire to secure the sanctity of we the people, and generate a governance environment that is nationalistic. This very simply strengthens inclusivity that defines Sanatan over millennia. Look at our historical perspective, our journey of thousands of years. It has always been inspired by a fundamental inclusivity. The power of we the people cannot suffer any sacrilege or dilution. Leadership must engage in overdrive, generating national consensus to preserve the sanctity of we the people and work in togetherness, in tandem, to neutralize all misadventures against it. Ladies and gentlemen, our woes and wails don't end here. With demographic disruptions and conversions, organic evolution of demographic character is acceptable, not only in our country, the world over. But when it is different, with ulterior motivation, threatening our very existence, we need to be alive. But the other aspect is, we the people faces onslaughts from within and without. Forces inimical to Bharat have converged to systematically weaken our nationalistic spirit. Constitutional institutions face orchestrated public ridicule as part of political strategy. Even the presidency isn't spared, tarnishing institutions, tainting high constitutional offices, especially on foreign land, is against our culture, is against our national interest. Every citizen has the power of social media. I beseech everyone in the interest of this country to be alive to these trends and make contributions. Anti-national narratives gain evil-inspired momentum. misinformation aimed at destabilizing the nation is rising. We had the painful occasion to see it during COVID. The pandemic that shook the world, then a nation of over 1.3 billion faced it by innovative mechanisms initiated by the Prime Minister. And it was successfully handled. The entire global fraternity has accorded Bharat, gone to the extent that Bharat, while tackling pandemic at home, lent assistance to 100 other countries. But some amongst us did not spare any effort to run us down. Such category of people who are recipe for chaos need to be exposed. Leadership must navigate this challenge through citizens' mindset response. Friends, Bharat is global beacon of inclusivity and thrives with unity in diversity. This calls for all to prioritize nation first. Commitment to nationalism marks freedom and democracy. No interest, partisan, economic or personal, can justifiably be the ground to compromise national interest. Ladies and gentlemen, on issues of constitutional clarity, where the Constitution is categorical, our founding fathers have given us the path. On issues like language, common civil code, seats of dissension are being sown. The response of the government emanates from constitutional prescriptions. We have to work in overdrive to see that these issues that are premised on our constitution are not politicized to the detriment of the nation. Leadership must seek national consensus and public awareness to sensitize people of the dangers that inhere in such approach. India's civilizational ethos offer a rich repository of leadership principles that predate modern governance theories by millennia. Our Vedic knowledge offers insight for leadership. Leadership in public life requires vision, character, and commitment to nationalism. We have seen what wonders visionary leadership can do in last 10 years. The nation has navigated from a disturbed scenario of gloom to one of hope and possibility. A 180-degree change in several aspects. We must always remember, ladies and gentlemen, we are land of Ved, Upanishad, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and the wisdom therein guides us all throughout. The Bhagavad Gita provides timeless leadership lessons through Lord Krishna's counsel to Arjuna. Yadada charti shreshtam deve trojana sayat pramanam krute lokst anuvartate. Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. And whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. This verse underscores the profound responsibility of leaders because they are naturally taken as torchbearers, role models whose actions shape the course of the society. But a challenge that is coming to society from these people is very dangerous. An informed mind, having held credible positions, trades on the ignorance of people to monetize politically. And that happened on many occasions in last 10 years. People in authority who presided our financial institutions for long had no qualms in indicating to the world that India can never register economic rise beyond 5%. And we had 1.5 times of that very year. On such matters, ladies and gentlemen, our memory should not be short. Kautilya's Arthashastra, perhaps the world's earliest comprehensive treatise on statecraft and governance, offers sophisticated insights on leadership. I quote, "The king shall consider as good not what pleases himself, but what pleases his subjects," unquote. This ancient wisdom resonates with modern governance principles, where true leadership transcends self-interest to embrace collective welfare. We all have seen this development. We need to continue it. Eknath Shinde has focused on this emotively, impactfully, and illustratively. Let us reflect on what is there in our civilizational essence and ethos. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, Sarvajana Hitaaya, Sarvajana Sukhaaya. These are the twin pillars of governance from our scriptures. And look at how it translated for the entire world to know during India's presidency of G20. One earth, one family, one future. This was universally accoladed and accepted. Friends, democracy flourishes with expression and dialogue. Abhivyakti or Samvad are its jewels. One is incomplete without the other. Expression complements dialogue and the other way around. If you believe in right of expression without taking note of the dialogue, then you miss the point. In the process you indicate, I alone am right, to the exclusion of every other sage thought. And that is why we have emanating from our scriptures, Anantavad. This is essential, inalienable facet of good governance. Judgmental response to different viewpoints, differing viewpoints, a point that is different than yours, reflects absolutism. And absolutism has no place in democracy. Democracy requires consensual approach. The other point of view must be considered, and there should be an effort for convergence to an agreed viewpoint. Constituent Assembly debates exemplify this approach. For little less than 3 years, in 18 sessions, Constituent Assembly deliberated very contentious issues, very divisive issues. They took recourse to dialogue, debate, discussion, and deliberation. There never was an occasion for disruption or disturbance. But when we find such a big change taking place, disruption is being weaponized as a political strategy to make parliament or legislatures dysfunctional. This does not augur well for health of democracy. And in some situations, it may pronounce death knell of democracy. If these temples of democracy do not perform constitutional ornament, then people in the country are bound to be concerned and worried. I, as Chairman, Council of States, express my deep anguish, and I appeal to people at large, academia, intellectuals, those in business, trade, commerce and industry, those in media, public service, to create a mindset to put pressure on parliamentarians and representatives. You perform. Because there can be no vacuum in democracy. If the legitimate platform of debate is dysfunctional, people will take to streets. They have to voice their concerns in one way or the other. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to another challenge. Last 10 years, the nation has witnessed exponential economic upsurge, phenomenal infrastructural growth, deep digitization, technological penetration, unknown before. Global institutions are accommodating Bharat as a favorite destination of investment and opportunity. The rural landscape has been revolutionized with every house having toilet, electric connection, pipe water is on the way, gas connection, road connectivity, close by health and education centers. And people therefore have gravitated to politics of development as indicated by Eknath Shinde. In that scenario, this phenomenal success, remarkable success story during the last 10 years brings with it a great challenge. On one hand, no nation in the world has this kind of growth as Bharat has had in last 10 years. India at the moment, on account of this growth, is the most aspirational nation in the world. Imagine a country of 1.4 billion with that kind of demographic dividend getting into aspirational mode. The leadership has to perform at rocket speed because there can be restlessness, and therefore I call upon every person, do not look at the government alone. Your opportunity basket is flattening every day, blossoming. When you look at surface of the sea or deep sea or ground surface or deep ground or sky or space, India's performance has increased your participation. Blue economy or space economy, you can take to that area. Let me just indicate one facet. If the IMF says, International Monetary Fund, India is a global center of investment and opportunity, sectorally it is not for government jobs. And that is why the success story of startups and unicorns, that is much away from the traditional industry succession lineage, should be our guiding factor. Because our economy, that was fragile, part of fragile 5, against heavy wind, difficult terrain, navigation, it has reached at number 5. In a year or two, will be number 3, a $4 trillion US economy. We are on way to attainment of Viksit Bharat at 2047. India, ladies and gentlemen, is no longer a nation with potential. It is a nation on the rise. The rise is unstoppable. The rise is incremental. The rise is sustainable. Viksit Bharat is not a dream, it is our destination. But then everyone will have to work for it, because to be a developed nation, our per capita income has to go eightfold. That must happen with participation of all. Good governance requires that we prevent problems, we preempt problems. It is not merely solving a problem. We must have full diagnosis. Why should a problem be there at all? Real-time delivery is quintessential. There was a time not long ago when power corridors were infested with liaison agents, corrupt elements who extra-legally leveraged the decision-making. Patronage was password for a contract or a job. But on account of introduction of technology, expeditious service delivery, transparent and accountable mechanism, these power corridors now are fully sanitized. The world is looking up to India for generating transparency, accountability, quick service delivery, people-centric policies in their countries. Ladies and gentlemen, I see one concern, and that concern is across the political spectrum. There is emergence of a new strategy, and the strategy is of appeasement or being placatory. Now, election is important in democracy, but not the end of it. Our scriptures have indicated means are as important as the result. And the governments, we are in a state where financial position is very strong. It's financial capital of the country, a global center for business and trade. But some governments that took recourse to this appeasement and placatory mechanisms are finding it very difficult to sustain in power. But one consequence is very categorical, and those in economics know it. We have stalwarts of economics sitting here, and that is, if there is excessive spending on electoral promises, then state's ability to invest in infrastructure is correspondingly reduced. This is detrimental to the growth scenario. And therefore, I would call upon leadership of all political parties, in the interest of democratic values, to generate a consensus that engaging into such kind of electoral promises that can be performed only at the cost of capex expenditure of the state. I should not be misunderstood, ladies and gentlemen, because while Indian Constitution has given us right of equality, it does provide in Article 14, 15 and 16 an exceptional category of affirmative governance, affirmative action, the reservation for SC, ST, for those who are in economic weaker section. That is sanctified. Similarly, there are exceptional situations for rural India, for the farmer, where affirmative steps are required to be taken. But this is very distinct from the other aspects I was talking about. This is not placatory or appeasing. It is justifiable economic policy. And therefore, it is good leadership that can take up call where to draw the line in the fiscal sense in the matter of political foresight and leadership spine. There is another aspect on which we need to focus. National debate is required so that we take note of shift from democracy to democracy. Emotion-driven policies, emotion-driven debates, discourses threaten good governance. Historically, populism is bad economics, and once a leader gets attached to populism, it is difficult to get out of the crisis. And therefore, the central factor has to be good of the people, largest good of the people, lasting good of the people. Empower people to empower themselves rather than empower them momentarily, because that affects their productivity. Our institutions are very critical. Our institutions must continue to be relevant. Political leadership must address declining relevance of institutions due to disruption and divisive politics. We have an example before us, as I said earlier. We have the legacy of our constitution being negotiated through dialogue without acrimony. Today's leaders should consult this spirit. Parliament is much beyond ideological discourse. Its democracy is a temple where discussion should focus on progress and people's welfare. Sliding parliamentary institutions into irrelevance is a challenge to democracy and our existence. It is worrisome when disruption and disturbance are weaponized, as I said. Our dysfunctional parliament, particularly in Bharat, that is the world's oldest, largest and most vibrant democracy, is injustice to the people. Our people deserve much better from our parliamentarians. From this sacred place, I urge parliamentarians and legislators to soul search. Democracy cannot function when expression and dialogue are compromised, while citizens must hold representatives accountable. For eternal vigilance remains freedom's price. Institutional perimeters must be maintained. Judicial overreach into executive governance disrupts democratic values. I do not mean to reflect more on it, but I am firm. Governance is the sole prerogative of the executive. And this is premised because executive is accountable to the people, to the legislature. Every 5 years or before, the executive has to go to the people to get their approval. And every action taken by the executive is amenable to legislature intervention. But if this executive function is performed by any other institution, including judiciary, it will be difficult to look for accountability. And furthermore, the wherewithal, the information, the database that help arrive at a decision cannot be available at other institutions other than the executive. Leadership is purpose-driven and not position of power. It has been said in Upanishad, Esa Vasya, Ten, Tek, Ten, Bhumbisa, enjoy through renunciation. Our leaders will have to embrace this philosophy. Selfless service in governance by blending India's timeless wisdom with today's needs. Create Tagore's vision. Rabindranath Tagore had said, I quote, where mind is without fear and head is held high. Satyameva Jayate Nanartham, which emanates from Mundaka Upanishad, it says, truth alone must survive and nothing else. The Rig Veda, moving together in harmony principle, must be our North Star. Before concluding, let me indicate two aspects. Democracy thrives on dialogue, not disruption. Policies must evolve on consensus, not confrontation. Irretrievable confrontational stance is antithetical to core values of democracy. These timeless principles must become our governing bedrock and guide the present and future leaders. Adherence to these eternal values ensure Bharat's rise to Param Vaibhav, supreme glory. Lastly, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, architect of India's constitution, his last address to the Constituent Assembly on November 25, 1949, and I quote, and ladies and gentlemen, mark every word he spoke. I quote, what perturbs me greatly is the fact that not only India has once before lost her independence, but she lost it by the infidelity and treachery of some of her own people. Will history repeat itself? He further goes on to add, it is this thought which fills me with anxiety. This anxiety is deepened by the realization of the fact that in addition to our old enemies in the form of caste and creeds, we are going to have many more political parties with diverse and opposing political creeds. He poses a question then, will Indians place the country above their creed, or will they place creed above country? Then he answers, I quote, I do not know, but this much is certain, that if parties place creed above country, our independence will be put in jeopardy a second time and probably be lost forever. This eventuality we must all resolutely guard against. We must be determined to defend our independence with the last drop of our blood. I feel privileged and honored with your patience and on the occasion of having imparted the inaugural lecture initiating Murli Devda dialogue, one of the finest human beings. I am personally indebted to him. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I request you all to